They think once they begin, wealth will eventually follow. But the uncomfortable truth is this. Most SIP investors never become rich. Not because SIPs don't work, not because markets fail, but because of one silent mistake almost everyone makes. It's called the stop-start error, and it quietly destroys compounding. Today we're going to talk about this mistake, not emotionally, not with fear, but calmly and clearly. Because once you understand it, you'll never invest the same way again. Let's start with a simple assumption. Imagine two people. Both start a SIP. Both invest the same amount. Both choose similar funds. On paper, they should reach the same destination, but they don't. One builds serious wealth. The other barely makes progress. The difference is not intelligence, it's behavior. SIP investing is often marketed as set it and forget it. But in real life, most people don't forget. They interfere, they stop, they restart, they pause during fear. They resume during confidence. And that pattern breaks everything. This is the stop-start error. Here's how it usually happens. Markets rise, portfolios look good, people feel smart. They continue their SIPs. Then markets fall. Headlines turn negative, portfolios go into red. Fear enters the picture. And suddenly the SIP feels like a mistake. So they pause it, they tell themselves it's temporary, they say they'll restart once things stabilize, but markets never feel stable at the bottom. By the time confidence returns, prices are already higher, and the SIP restarts late. This cycle repeats again and again, and every time it does, compounding takes a hit. Let's make this visual. Imagine a smooth upward curve. This is what a disciplined SIP looks like. Now imagine small breaks in that line, little gaps. Each gap represents a pause, a stop, a restart. Those gaps don't look dramatic, but over time they flatten the curve. This is the cost of the stop-start error. Most people think missing a few months doesn't matter. After all, it's just a short break. But compounding is sensitive to continuity. It rewards uninterrupted time. And it punishes inconsistency. When you stop a SIP during market falls, you miss the most valuable purchases. You buy fewer units when prices are low. You buy more units when prices are high. Without realizing it, you reverse the entire logic of SIP investing. You turn a disciplined strategy into emotional timing. Now let's talk about the psychological reason behind this. Humans are wired to avoid pain. Losses feel heavier than gains. So when portfolios go down, the emotional instinct is to stop the pain. Pausing a SIP feels like control. It feels responsible. It feels like protecting money, but in reality it is locking in future regret. Because the best SIP returns come from investing during bad periods. This is the paradox. The very moments when stopping feels sensible are the moments when continuing matters most. Now consider this. Two investors invest for 20 years. Investor A invests continuously. Investor B stops during every major market fall, just for a few months each time. On paper, the difference looks small. In reality, the final gap is massive because Investor A captured every recovery. Investor B missed the cheapest units. The market always recovers. But missed compounding never does. This is why most SIP investors never become rich. They don't stay invested long enough. Not because they exit permanently, but because they keep interrupting the process. Another version of the stop-start error is lifestyle pressure. Expenses rise, commitments increase. SIPs are seen as flexible, so they are reduced, paused, deferred. Again, it feels harmless. But the damage compounds silently. Every year you delay growth is a year you can never reclaim. Now let's address a dangerous myth. Many people believe that stopping a SIP during bad markets is smart. They believe they can restart later at a better time. This assumes two things: that you'll recognize the bottom, and that you'll have the courage to invest when fear is highest. Most people do neither. They stop when fear is high, and restart when comfort returns. This is the exact opposite of what works. The market doesn't reward intelligence, it rewards discipline. Now here's the part most people don't like hearing. A SIP is not an investment product, it is a behavioral system. Its job is not to maximize returns. Its job is to protect you from yourself. When you override that system, you remove its biggest advantage: consistency. Let's talk about what rich SIP investors do differently. They don't watch markets daily. They don't react to headlines. They don't pause during corrections. They automate. They ignore noise. They treat SIPs like a non-negotiable bill. And over time, compounding does the rest. This doesn't mean they are fearless. It means they have rules. Rules that prevent emotional interference. Now here's an important clarification. Stopping a SIP because of genuine financial distress is not failure. Life happens, health issues, job loss, emergencies. That's different. The stop-start error is not about necessity. It's about emotion. It's about reacting to fear instead of following a plan. The solution is not complicated, but it is uncomfortable. You must decide in advance that SIPs continue regardless of market conditions. You remove choice from the process. You don't ask, should I continue? You ask, can I afford to stop? And most of the time the answer is no. Now let's zoom out. Why does this matter so much? Because wealth is not built by timing. It is built by time. And every interruption steals time. The irony is that SIP investors who stay consistent often feel behind for many years. But then suddenly the curve bends, and progress accelerates. This is the phase most stop-start investors never reach. Not because they lacked money, but because they lacked continuity. The stop-start error doesn't feel dramatic. That's what makes it dangerous. It feels harmless, temporary, reasonable, but over decades it becomes expensive. Very expensive. If there is one lesson from this video, it is this. Starting a SIP is easy. Staying invested is rare. And staying invested is what creates wealth. Not brilliance, not timing, not predictions, just discipline repeated without interruption. This is the wealth blueprint. And avoiding the stop-start error is one of the most important steps toward building real wealth. Subscribe if you want clarity, not hype.